Hello and welcome to the latest Society for the Environment webinar. Today we are focusing on the process of applying for the Registered Environmental Practitioner registration, also referred to as REnvP. Today's webinar will run for around an hour, but that includes Q&A time with our live audience at the end. The initial presentation is very much an overview, and we will always try to let you know how to find more details and point you in the direction of some specifics depending on your chosen REnvP pathway. To start with, I'm Phil, officially the Society's Engagement Manager, unofficially the world's biggest champion of environmental professionalism, but we'll skip past that for now. I'm joined by my colleagues Jeff and Tom, who I'll introduce properly when the time is right. And in the background, we have April making everything run smoothly and trying to make us sound as professional as possible. Our aim today is to shine a spotlight on the key processes involved in reaching your REnvP goal, then answer as many questions as we can. Before we delve into the world of REnvP registration, I'll start with a bit of background to the Society for the Environment, just because it's going to help with understanding and to give an idea of why we exist. So our core role is to hold the register for competent environmental professionals who have met and continue to meet a level of competence in their environmental work and their overall professionalism. There are currently around 9,000 registered environmental professionals known as registrants, and I hope that many of you watching will be able to join this community in the next few weeks or months. We do all of this in partnership with 27 professional bodies. Put simply, we want the decisions that impact the environment to be made by those with externally verified, peer-reviewed competence to do those jobs. There are 4 different professional registrations that we regulate: entry-level environmentalist, registered environmental technician, registered environmental practitioner, and chartered environmentalist. Essentially, these are the global benchmarks for competence and professionalism in environmental practice, ensuring that our workforce, businesses, governments, and more are equipped to tackle the environmental crises we are facing. So together, we can shape a more sustainable future. But today we're focusing on REnvP, the Registered Environmental Practitioner Professional Registration. And I wanted to start by giving you an idea of who our current REnvP registrants are. These on your screen are just a small selection of the job titles REnvPs have. And these are just from those who have registered since the 1st of January 2026, so just under 6 months. As a bit of a game, if you spot your own job title here, please feel free to shout bingo in your head. Unfortunately, no prizes are available at this time. As you may be able to see, REnvP is for core environmental professionals like environmental consultants, the sustainability analysts, the environmental managers, but also for other roles who then have an environmental focus within them, like quality engineers, project managers, construction planners, and senior engineers. All of these options, job titles, make perfect sense for REnvP, showcasing your environmental competence and professionalism. So this is the basic agenda for today. We shall try our best to stick to it. First up, we're looking at the application criteria, then looking into routes to registration. That second part under routes to registration, Tom will be covering with us, but that'll come slightly later in the agenda as we reshuffled things. We then look at the application process, the assessment, and what happens after the assessment. And then beyond that, what happens after that. And then we're going to answer as many questions as we can in item number 6. I'm now going to hand over to Jeff Atkins, who is our Head of License Delivery and Quality, and we'll be running through the core of today's webinar. Thank you very much for joining us, Jeff.
Hello, everybody. So Phil talked about how the Society for the Environment, SOCENV, is made up, and we have 26 member bodies. He mentioned 27, one of them is an associate body, but the 26 member bodies are there displayed on that slide. That's their logos and quite often their name as well. And of those member bodies, they're all professional bodies. Of those, These are the member bodies who we license to assess and register appropriately qualified and experienced individuals for RMP. So we call them licensed members, but what these really are your pathways to gaining RMP registration. Hopefully you'll see a professional body on that slide that you recognise and that you may even be a member of already. Now, to become an RMP, you've got to meet all of these eligibility criteria. You need, and that first one is, you need to be a member of a licensed member. So one of those 11 professional bodies that were on that previous slide. You need to have a level of knowledge equivalent to RQF level 5. You need to have sufficient experience so that you can demonstrate the RMP competencies, comply with our code of professional conduct, and do CPD, meet the requirements of both your professional body and us relating to continuing professional development. So those are the eligibility criteria. We're now going to talk about what is the standard route to registration. So the application process for RMP, and there we are. You probably guessed the first one. You've got to join a licensed professional body. So you've really got to join one of those 11 that were on that earlier slide and speak to them about your intentions to apply. I'm planning to apply for RMP. This is what I want to do. Help me. So they'll give you an application form, an application pack, which you'll complete. You'll submit it for assessment and attend your interview. Bracket, if applicable, close bracket. We'll cover the interview situation in a later slide. And the other thing is you sign that code of professional conduct, which, although it's the 5th step in the application process, it's actually, if you complete the written application, every professional body, every licensed member who has an application pack, an application form, that will include the code of professional conduct. So you'll be signing it just by applying. So that's an easy one, easy. So that's the application process. Quick run through that. So a quick overview of that initial application process. That application form is really, or the application pack, is really how you're going to be showing how you satisfy those eligibility criteria. You've got to be able to complete that application form, and that will show that you are eligible. And then that written submission, the written part, that's going to really show how you meet all the competencies, the RMP competencies, which you must meet all of them. There are 4 groups of competencies, 11 in total, conveniently put into these 4, A, B, C, and D. Now, the A and B competencies, they're the ones that, if they choose to, your professional body can contextualize them. So they can change them slightly so that the wording might make more sense to you. It might happen, it might not. It's entirely up to them. But these are very important. These are going to be about your sector, the sector you work in, and how you wish, providing evidence to show how you meet those competencies. Now these are the C and D competencies. These are sometimes unkindly known as the sort of soft skills. These apply across all sectors. It doesn't matter. These won't be changed. They're very important. They're as equally important as A and B. And there's one competence I'd like to point out, and that's D1, which is all about CPD. And just to make sure that you see that word maintain. So it isn't just about getting your REnvP registration, maintain it. You need to do CPD to keep your registration, to maintain it, to enhance. So that's really important. You've got to undertake and record CPD. So the elements of the application, as it says on the slide, application elements. So the academic qualifications. Okay, so what you'll need to be able to do is to show that you've acquired a level of knowledge equivalent to RQF level 5, a qualification at level 5. Now, if you haven't got a particular qualification, or you've got whatever qualification you've got, it's up to the professional body to decide on what is equivalent to that level of that level 5 level of knowledge. So that's up to them. The practical experience, so it's got to be relevant, and it's got to be work-based practice. Now, it must have a direct and distinct environmental focus and or context. Now, it can be paid employment, it can be voluntary activity, it can be academic work placements, it can be lots of things. What it can't be is just pure academic study. It's got to be actual work experience, work practice. So I said I'd talk about the professional review interview, or sometimes quite often shortened to the PRI. We do like acronyms. So the PRI, now in REnvP, it is not a formal requirement. It's not mandatory, though your professional body may choose or require you to have one, or they may offer you one, which you could accept. Now, there are reasons why they may choose to have a PRI, to make about a reasonable adjustment. It's inseparable to their membership requirements. You know, for membership, you have to have an interview, so they do the REnvP one at the same time. They believe that you would benefit from, the candidate would benefit from having an interview. And another reason where they think it would be appropriate. And as I say, there is also the option for you to, when you're having your conversation, that initial conversation or subsequent conversation with your professional body, you could ask them if they could give you an interview. You would find it better to have an interview. So that's the PRI. So we've quickly gone through the process. You've applied, you've been assessed, and the assessor panel have come to a conclusion. Now, whether that includes the interview or not, but they've come to a conclusion and they've made a recommendation. And that will be ratified maybe by the membership committee, the professional standards committee, whatever your professional body choose. Their recommendation will be ratified, and then the licensed member, your professional body, will commence the registration process with us. And that's pretty much it. And I pass over to Tom.
So just very briefly to say, I'm now going to contribute just a few minutes around shortened routes to registration, and Jeff's kind of description and summary of what REnvP is and what a standard application looks like. Hopefully offers a nice foundation to be able to give a little bit more detail around this work as well. So yeah, my name's Tom. I work around all things education and skills at the Society for the Environment, very much looking at where is environmental professionalism, environmental knowledge, skills and behaviours that are needed for the workforce being developed through educational pathways in their broadest sense. And where they are, how do they link back to the registers and registration requirements. And part of this work is a focus around apprenticeships, and we include this within this particular event because we recognise that increasingly individuals and employers are utilising apprenticeships as part of their workforce development. So there may be people on call today that are an apprentice themselves, have been an apprentice, or you might have an apprentice within your team. So we wanted to spend just a couple of minutes to emphasize this work. In the context of environmental practitioner, this relates to apprenticeships that are levels 5 and level 7 in England, that have been published in England. And I'll be sharing a few examples of those in a moment. The work is broader than that, and just as a very quick nod to say that we've also done work around our other registers, environmental technician and entry-level environmentalist. So we're very much trying to create stronger connections between education that's enabling individuals to develop and enter their industry and their workforce, and our registers. Now, we're able to do this because when we're looking at the format of an apprenticeship, and as Jeff has very well summarised just on a few slides back, they clearly meet academic qualification requirements and equivalents and practical experience. And alongside them, they're very occupationally specific. So Phil shared a slide right at the beginning talking about who is an REnvP. And this slide visually represents how that can look like, or what that can look like in the context of apprenticeships. So we have 10 apprenticeships that have gone through a process of assessment and peer review at the Society for the Environment and have been judged as aligned to the requirements of being an REnvP. So anyone who's completing these apprenticeships are eligible to a shortened route to registration. You'll note on this slide, it talks again around about how it's meeting the requirement of that RQF level 5 minimum requirement or equivalent. So that's what a licensed member would be using when you're looking at any applications to ensure that that academic qualification requirement is being met. Again, Jeff has already covered in good detail the competency requirements of REnvP, the fact that there are 4 groupings that then form 11 competences, and those 4 groupings again showing on this slide here. All those apprenticeships that were presented on the previous slides have been judged as meeting most or all of the competency requirements. So essentially an apprentice can use their certificate as the primary evidence when they're looking to apply for REnvP through their licensed member. Competency has already been demonstrated through the apprenticeship, so we recognise that and enable licensed members to recognise that too. We have a microsite that provides a lot of guidance in this space, and we'll put a couple of links in the chat shortly so you can access that if this is eligible and relevant to you. Within that microsite, we offer specific guidance for every eligible apprenticeship, so you can see how it links to the register and what it means in terms of competencies that have already been met or any gaps in the application. And within that, and useful to, I hope, everyone who's on call today, there's also some insight pieces where you can hear from others that are now REnvP registrants, and to get a sense of what were their drivers, what encouraged them to take forward that idea of becoming professionally registered and what it means to them in terms of their career and professional identity. This particular link on this slide will take you to 3 environmental consultants who have completed the environmental practitioner apprenticeship, who work in industry and are now an REnvP. So that summarises the work we're doing in the education and skills space. I'm going to pass back to Phil just to cover this slide. Thank you.
Hey, thank you very much, Tom. Thank you very much, Jeff. So what now? Well, the first thing to do, as Jeff rightly mentioned, was to become a member of one of our licensed members, have a chat with that licensed member, with the membership team, tell them that you're interested in becoming a registered environmental practitioner, and they should be able to give you some guidance in terms of the next steps through their pathway. Again, as Jeff mentioned, complete the initial application process, and then you can take the first steps to becoming an REnvP. It's as simple as that, really. Obviously, there's quite a few things to complete. The competence probably being the main part of that and showcasing how you meet those competences. There we go. Just in case you needed another hint, time to get started. Beyond that, once you've completed your Registered Environmental Practitioner registration, you'll get a nice certificate from the Society for the Environment. You'll get your confirmation through from the licensed member. via email. You'll get access to the RFP logo, which you can put on your CV, on your email signatures, on LinkedIn, wherever you want to put it, on the front door of your office window. It's up to you. So without me going on too far, let's go to Q&A, shall we? What is our RFQ level 5 qualifications? What is it? But I wanted to just start by saying you don't need one. You don't need a qualification that is at that level. We have registered environmental practitioners, chartered environmentalists, and so on, don't have degrees. That's fine. It's equivalence. You need to demonstrate that you have the equivalent knowledge to that level, which can be demonstrated in all sorts of different ways. And as Jeff mentioned, that will be assessed by your licensed member, your pathway, to determine whether that is at that level 5, which is a terminology that we use, which isn't universal. It's not global. As Tom mentioned, that's a system within England and Northern Ireland. Is that right, Tom? Yeah, I've got the thumbs up.
Yeah, that's
excellent.
Yep.
But in terms of what it is, hopefully that is helpful. What's a good example of what a level 5 is, Tom, Jeff?
Bachelor's, second year bachelor's, foundation degree,
Yeah.
higher national diploma.
Yeah.
And
So
anything else that you can convince your professional body is equivalent.
Yeah. So just I have an example from the chartered environmentalist space. We have our former chair is a chartered environmentalist. To become a chartered environmentalist, you need knowledge levels up to level 7, which is master's degree level generally. But his highest qualifications, I believe, is A levels or something like that. But that's perfectly fine because he's been able to demonstrate that he has the equivalent knowledge up to that level. And the same is the case for registered environmental practitioner. Which leads me on to another question that was asked in the chat. Right, currently in Qatar, and I have a bachelor's degree in chemical and a master's in industrial environmental engineering. Is this qualified or equivalent for RQF? I'm currently registered as a ICEP, so associate member of ICEP. So does it meet the equivalence of a level 5? Without knowing the details, but with it being a bachelor's degree and you have a master's, I would put my neck out there and say yes.
ICEP will confirm that.
ICEP
when
will
you have your conversation.
There you go. So don't take it from me, but speak to ICEP. I would say it's highly likely to meet the qualification requirements. How much work experience is required for RFP? Is it the same for chartered scientist? And are these two on the same level? Now, I don't know what the level is for chartered scientist, but I guess Tom and Jeff might know.
Me too. I think I'm going to step in because Jeff hasn't.
No, I don't want to say the wrong thing.
Yeah, I mean, essentially, when we're looking at kind of qualification levels or equivalent, it's consistent in the same way. So within the sciences, you'll have scientist register, which is level 5 or equivalent, and chartered scientist, which is level 7 or equivalent. And similar to ourselves, we have practitioner, level 5 or equivalent, or chartered, which is level 7 or equivalent.
But if the question is about how much work experience do you need, it's probably around 3 years.
Yeah, thank you for picking
at
up
least
that bit.
2, I would say. If you've got wide experience, if you've got, but roughly 3 years.
And it very much depends on your career journey and where it's taking you so far, doesn't it?
Absolutely.
It can take 10 years, but you can do it within 2-3 years. It just depends on the experiences you've had in your career so far. Okay, so do you have an example of CPD? Now that could cover all manner of different things, couldn't it? And I hand this one to you, Jeff.
Well, you could argue that being on this is CPD. I mean, so webinars, just reading your professional body's journal is CPD. Going on a course, CPD. Doing something that you've not done before, watching a colleague do something, learning from them. CPD, it covers everything. It's all sorts of things. And your professional body, they'll tell you whether or not that's good CPD or not, and they'll provide you with opportunities for CPD. So yeah, I mean, today is a good example of doing CPD.
Apologies, James. I noticed on the slide with all the RFP job titles, there was no SHEQ or HSEQ or HSE positions. It is almost unheard of in Northeast Scotland to find an environmental position. Everything is within HSEQ. Now, as mentioned, that slide was not a pick list of job titles that you need to have to become a registered environmental practitioner. There are absolutely RFPs, chartered environmentalists, and so on that have SHE-based positions, and it'll still be relevant to those positions. So if you have one of those, don't let that hold you back, essentially. And if we need to change some of our slides to be a bit more inclusive of such areas or such job positions, then let us know. It's always useful for us to learn about that. But like I said, it wasn't a cover-all slide.
I suppose I would just add that
Okay.
with the work with our apprenticeship mapping, although it's not specifically linked to apprenticeships, we look at occupations, and that drives forward our work. And the number of sectors that align to REnvP competencies is broad and diverse, and the occupations within those sectors too. So it's has the ability to be inclusive to a very broad range of occupations and sectors where environmental professionalism can be demonstrated.
So if you remember, when you registered for this session, we asked you if you wanted to ask any questions beforehand, and some of you did. So can someone practicing in Nigeria register as an environmental practitioner? I can do this one. Yes, absolutely. It doesn't matter where you are based in the world. You can become a registered environmental practitioner, technician, chartered environmentalist, entry level. Borders don't matter. Geography doesn't matter. So as long as you can find the right pathway for you in terms of professional body, they should be able to support you to become a registered environmental practitioner. If someone has not done engineering but have experience in environmental and social field for more than 10 years, is he eligible to apply? Again, my answer would be yes, but Jeff, could you add to that?
Well, yeah, yes. I mean, it's just that's the easy answer. Yes, of course you can
Okay.
apply. If you're not sure, it's not us that would tell you. It will be your pathway, your professional body. Ask. I've got all this experience. I've got this. Does that meet the eligibility criteria?
Okay.
That's what you've got to try and do.
What certification or training can I do to be a registered environmental practitioner? Now that again can incorporate a lot of different training experiences, courses, but there are no specifics that you need to do to become an REnvP. As Tom had gone through, apprenticeships is one of the ways to do it, and there are numerous apprentices that are aligned to the competences, but some that aren't, which is fine. That is still a way for you to demonstrate your professionalism, your experience, and your competencies. Anything to add to that, Jeff or Tom?
What you want is a variety of experience. So you want that's the best thing to have, a variety of experience. So there's no one course that you should do. There's no one qualification you should do. There's no one thing that you should be good at. You want a range of evidence and experience, and that is what will prove better for you.
And I would probably just also add that, you know, some other examples, if you'd like a couple more examples of how that links to education, higher technical qualifications are like level 5 based qualifications that could offer that environmental knowledge to support your REnvP registration. You'd also have a number of graduates and postgrads that would consider REnvP to be the right register for themselves as they enter their early career. with REnvP either being the destination register or as a stepping stone if they decide to move on to chartered environmentalist too. So there's not one journey, there's multiple journeys, and our registers look to support that and that kind of squiggly path that different careers might take.
Which is both an opportunity because there's lots of different pathways in, but also a challenge because you need to decide what works best. And it's sometimes challenging for us to demonstrate those many different pathways. But hopefully it's useful for you guys to become an environmental practitioner at some point. Okay. With PGDIP in environmental management and having been an associate member of IEMA, as was ICEP these days, and practitioner since it was introduced, should this meet the requirements to become an REnvP? Now, the practitioner level of ICEP is very aligned with becoming a registered environmental practitioner through ICEP. I don't know the details of that. Jeff might, but in all likelihood,
it is.
Yeah.
I mean, pretty much, if you can satisfy ICEP and become their practitioner level, then you'll meet the requirements for REnvP.
So you should be able to do it through ICEP. Excellent. What is the minimum environmental position? I assume you mean in terms of career job position, and the answer to that will be that there isn't one. You need to demonstrate that you're competent in your work at the right knowledge levels and you meet the competencies and professionalism. Hopefully that's demonstrated in the job title slide. It's quite the range. So there's no distinct position level. There's assistants in there, there's directors in there, there's everything in between. So, okay, right. Would you typically recommend becoming REnvP before or after becoming chartered? Now, we wouldn't recommend going for REnvP after you've become chartered because chartered is at the a different level. But would we recommend becoming an REnvP before becoming chartered? It wouldn't do you any harm, that's for sure. In terms of if your overall aim was to become chartered, then becoming REnvP first certainly shows that you are committed to that route. You've gone through the process, which is similar. You've met the competencies, which are similar, but to a different level of knowledge requirements. So it would certainly stand you in good stead. It wouldn't go against you becoming a chartered environmentalist, that's for sure.
I mean, REnvP, you wouldn't want that after you become a chartered environmentalist. Cost you more as well. But yeah, I mean, a stepping stone towards chartership, REnvP is ideal for the reasons that you described, Phil. Yes.
If you had both of them, you'd be demonstrating that you meet the competencies to equivalents to level 5 knowledge and to level 7, but there's not really much point demonstrating you meet level 5 requirements when you're also demonstrating you meet level 7 requirements. So, as an individual with environmental background and also a graduate member of CIWEM, Chartered Institute of Water and Environmental Management, and IEMA, or ICEP these days, and who is currently working in the built environment and a certified building safety manager, do I need to sit an exam to be a full member? Well, to begin with, you wouldn't be a full member with us. What the full membership requirement is with one of our licensed member pathways, you need to speak to them about that one. Do you need to sit an exam to become a registered environmental practitioner? There's no exam. You just need to complete the application process, which involves demonstrating how you meet the key competencies, which probably covers most of that.
Well, I was going to say, if anyone's attended today and they feel that they would like to apply for REnvP, but for one reason or another they don't feel they've got quite the experience yet, it's probably worth also just noting our entry-level environmentalist register as a route that can support you to REnvP. This is specifically for those who aren't yet in a position to demonstrate their competency. So they might not have yet the sufficient experience, but do have the environmental knowledge. So they're more than likely meeting the academic requirements or equivalent, but not yet the experience requirements.
I think we're going to draw things to a close. So that's it from us today. Thank you very much for listening and taking part. And thank you to Jeff and Tom for joining me today and providing your insights. If you're watching the recording on YouTube, please subscribe to our channel to gain notifications of new videos and webinars and recordings, and hit the like button. That would be fantastic. If you're watching on our website, please click on the YouTube logo in the bottom right to subscribe and like. And we will see you in the next webinar. Thank you very much again for watching. Good luck with your RFP applications.